Greetings, mighty companions. Anna Kujawa here, and this is Practical and Healing Applications of A Course in Miracles with Anna Kujawa. That's me. And we are going to start our session, as we always do, with an opening meditation where we make contact with that divine mind within us and ask it to decide for us where and what in A Course in Miracles that we are going to study today. So we're going to do that for a few minutes, and then we'll see what happens after that. You never know. Just something good. All right, so if you haven't already, close your eyes and take a breath and breathe. And would somebody be willing to close that door, both of those doors? Thank you, Todd. All right. Take a breath. Let go of your day. Let go of everything that happened up until this time now. Let go of everything that's not happening right here and right now. Allowing your mind to come back home to the right now, where your mind can rest, where your mind can do nothing but be here, right now, where there's nothing left to do but to be one with everything. And breathe it in. Let everything else go. And let's tell our minds, I need do nothing. In this holy instant right now, I need do nothing, because it's already all been done, and I am complete and healed and whole already as I was created. So in this holy instant now, I need do nothing. So breathe in that truth. Let your mind rest. As you tune your awareness to the present moment, see if you can become aware of the presence that abides in the present moment. Feel for it. Open your heart and your mind to it. You are indwelt with divinity itself. That's not hypothetical. That's not metaphorical. You are indwelt with divinity itself. See if you can feel that presence and that innocence. Breathe it in. feel your innocence, your divinity, the child of life within you. This is your true self, that divine, innocent child of life within you. That's your real self. And now let's inwardly ask that innocent child of life within us, divine child of life within me, what is it that you know that I most need to hear right now, that I might return back to my innocence as I was created? You know my calls for love, and you know exactly how to answer me, to help me come back to that innocent, divine and brilliant and free child of life within me. You know how to help me come back to that, to remember my true self. And so I ask for your help today. Guide where we go in A Course in Miracles. Guide where we go. Beautiful. And to that we say, thank you, God, thank you, Spirit. All right. Okay. Let's go now to the random number generator. And we're going to put in the 3 books of the teacher's manual. I just pulled up the teacher's manual, and so, and it looks like section 5 in the teacher's manual. Weren't we in the teacher's manual a couple of weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think so.
I think we were. It was, what was it in, let's see, so teacher's manual, section 5. Okay, who sees, anybody see what it is, teacher's manual?
What is it? Number?
Section 5, question number 5.
How is
in the
healing
teacher's-
accomplished?
Okay, great, wonderful. How is healing accomplished? We actually did this section a few weeks ago. I remember it. So, good. Apparently, we did not get how healing was accomplished. Apparently, we did not accomplish that healing. How is healing accomplished? And teacher's manual. And apparently, we needed a review. All right. Here we go. Okay. Everybody got it?
It was June 27th.
Yeah, it was June 27th. It was literally not even, well, like
6 weeks ago.
Yeah, 6 weeks ago. So we did do this a few weeks ago, but it's one of those sections where, you know, I've been doing this for going on 37 years and I still need it. So it's, you know, that's the way it is with all of the course. Just like Lynette, you were saying today, that every time you read it, you wonder if you've ever read it before. And I was telling Lynette, I have the same exact experience 37 years later. I read it and I go, have I read this before? Because every time you hear it, you're hearing it at a deeper level. You have more awareness, more understanding that you're bringing to it. So it literally seems like a new section, and you have to...
Sure. You've evolved.
Exactly, because you've evolved. And so now you're hearing it in a way you never heard it before, so it seems like the first time you've heard it. Okay. So that's the way it is with A Course in Miracles.
Well, there's 3 sections to it. So.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and there's 3 sections to it. That's right. So, yes. All right. So, and it's because there's 3 sections, I might skip a paragraph or so, just so that we can get to more of it, okay?
Yeah.
So the first thing that I would like for you to bring to your awareness is what area of your life right now could you use some healing, which means some peace, which means some joy, which means some abundance. And where is it right now that you could really use some peace, some healing? I want you to bring that to your awareness. I want you to bring that to your awareness. And as we go through this, I want you to apply this. Ask yourself, what would it take for me to ask myself these questions about this situation? Okay, how would I apply this to that situation? Okay, this is a practical course. It's all about the practical application of this, because that's the only way to get the miracle. That's the only way to experience the miracle that comes from the application of this. This is a course in miracles. So miracles come from these ideas, but you gotta use them. And when do you gotta use them? You know, when you need them. Okay. So the temptation here is to learn them, because they're so beautiful and wonderful. But then when you really need them, to not use them. That's our temptation as Course in Miracles students. So as you're applying this to whatever you're going through, if you need any support or have any questions about, well, yeah, but I still don't see how I would apply it to that, or how would I apply it to this, feel free to ask, knowing that your questions and your share helps us to also apply it to our stuff, where we still need healing, okay? All right. So, all right. I wonder, Greg, would you be willing to go to my Facebook page and see if it's posting, because I'm curious. I want to make sure I have it on public instead of private here. Okay, how is healing accomplished in the thing I'm going through today? That's the name of the section. It says, healing involves an understanding of what the illusion of sickness is for. And so, first of all, it just said sickness was an illusion. That's the first thing I don't believe. Okay, so what is sickness? Sickness is an illusion. Okay, see somebody on there, good. So sickness is an illusion, what does that mean? That means sickness is representing a belief that isn't true. I'm sick, I'm suffering, I'm unhappy, I'm broke because I'm believing in something that's not true. I'm believing in an illusion, something that's not true. Okay, that's what's really going on. Sickness is not natural in the universe. I know it seems like the most natural thing right there, along with death and taxes, but sickness is an illusion, a representation of a belief of something that ain't true. It's not fact. Okay? It says healing is impossible without an understanding of what the illusion of sickness is for. Okay? So the first thing we got to ask ourselves about wherever we're suffering or unhappy is, what's this for? What's the payoff here? What's the payoff here? What's my payoff? What am I getting out of this? Okay? That's the first thing to ask ourselves, so that we can get to an understanding of what the sickness or the suffering is for. It's not an accident. It's not natural in the universe. It's not a punishment. Well, maybe you're using it for a punishment, but it's not something that's happening to you. Okay? All right. Now, we know we don't believe or accept that yet. That's why we still got our problems. Okay? We don't believe that yet, and so whatever problems that we're not asking that question about, that's the problems we still have. That's the problems we're like, well, that's just the way it is when you're in a relationship. You got problems, that's just the way it is. You got a body, you're gonna have sickness, you gotta suffer. Okay. Okay, that was the first paragraph of that was paragraph number 1. Okay, great. So then it says the perceived purpose of sickness. Now I was going to talk about the perceived purpose of sickness. It says healing is accomplished the instant the sufferer no longer sees any value in pain. Period. The sufferer. Okay. Some people are a surfer. Some people are a sufferer. Okay.
The guy in
Yeah.
sauna the other day had a tattoo down his leg, suffer.
He had a tattoo on his leg that said "suffer."
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, who would put that on their leg?
Yes. And then somebody else said that putting a tattoo on this part of the body is like the most painful part.
Oh, really?
So yeah. So apparently, that's somebody who saw a purpose in suffering. Like we're watching this great series, The Marvelous Miss Maisel, and and then somebody says to this Jewish guy, "Everything okay?" And he goes, "Oh, it's terrible, but I'm Jewish. I suffer."
Yeah, it's what we
That's
do.
what we do. Jewish. I suffer. That's what we do. It's what we do. But with this, we could say because it serves a purpose. And so the instant that we not only ask ourselves what purpose is my suffering serving, but then we say it's not suffering, it's not serving any purpose. I don't want this, I don't need this. I don't need to suffer just to have love or have abundance or be accepted. I don't need to suffer anymore. That instant, it didn't say next week. It said that instant. The instant I say, I don't need the pain. I'm done with the pain. I don't need the pain anymore. I used to think that I needed the pain in order to be safe. I used to think I needed the pain and the suffering in order to have a relationship. I don't know if any of you have ever had that illusion. I used to be like, well, you can't have a relationship without suffering, and so I want a relationship. I don't want to be alone, so so you got to suffer. So that's okay. So you just accept it, right? But the instant that you realize you don't have to suffer for love, for abundance, for a relationship, for safety, to survive. Wait, I don't have to suffer to survive? Who knew?
Notice it doesn't say the instant the punisher.
Yes. Very good. Notice it doesn't say the instant the punisher no longer sees any value in pain. The sufferer. Mm-hmm. Yes. Wow. So where is it that you feel like you have to pay the price of pain in order to have fill in the blank? I mean, the most obvious part is, well, you're going to have to suffer and have pain if you want love. Everybody knows that, right? But that's an illusion, that you have to suffer to have love. That's an illusion. That is not a fact. That is something that is not true. The author of love didn't make love such that, well, you can have love, but you're going to have to pay for it with a lot of pain. Right? So, then it says, and who would choose suffering unless they thought the suffering brought them something and something of value to them? The sufferer must think that the suffering is a small price to pay for something of greater worth. Exactly. If I'm going to be suffering for this, I better be getting something out of it. I'm not going to be suffering for nothing, you see. Right? And that's the way we all are. We're not going to suffer for nothing, And so the moment when we realize, I am suffering for nothing. I am suffering for nothing. I was suffering for love, and then I got love, and and I'm still suffering. So I am suffering, and I'm suffering, and then there's no love. Now wait a minute. No. Like, I was suffering thinking it was going to get me love, and so then I got suffering, but then where's the love? And wait a minute, I'm still suffering, but I'm not getting the love? Okay, now wait a minute. Okay. And that's in our relationships where we go, I'm done. Okay. I was suffering because I thought that was going to get me the love, but then I realized I'm suffering for no love, and then goodbye. Only to do it again with somebody else. All right. So, so wherever it is that I'm suffering, I must think that what I'm going through right now is a small price to pay for something of greater worth. Dang. Wow, that's really deep, huh? Hard to believe, isn't it? Because the delusion, self-deception that we've played on ourselves is that suffering brings me something of greater worth, greater value. All right. Because sickness is an election. Sickness is a decision. Sickness is the choice of weakness in the mistaken conviction that weakness is strength. Now, when this illusion, decision, mistake occurs that weakness is strength, then real strength, which is health, is seen as threat, which means health is seen as danger. Wow. In other words, sickness is a method. Sickness is a method conceived in madness for placing you on God's throne. Okay? It's like, I am going to get myself some love and I've decided that the way to do that is to suffer. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, are you God? I guess you must be the author of reality. You seem to know what love is and how to get it, So you must be God. Well, yes, obviously. Okay. So sickness is you trying to be God and deciding where happiness and where love is and how to get it. Having no idea that you could not be more wrong. And you're suffering. It's like, wait a minute. I'm going to be suffering and I'm going to be wrong? No. I mean, I know I'm Jewish and all, but come on. That's taking it a little too far. Right? So that's what sickness is. It's a method conceived in insanity of placing me on God's throne where I'm going to decide what love is and what it takes to get it. So, wow. And yes.
Yeah, that would be what my plan is.
That's my plan.
That's my
plan.
Yeah.
That's the plan of a madman. It's like, how insane would you have to be? Okay, I'm going to get some love. All right, so, okay, and then love is suffering. And so the way I'm going to get this love is I'm going to suffer and sacrifice to get it. All right, yeah, I'm so excited. I'm going to have some love. Okay. So suffering is a method conceived in madness of putting ourselves on God's throne. I'm going to get myself some love. I know what it is. I know how to get it. Okie dokie. Same thing we do with happiness. I know what happiness is. I know how to get it. Now I'm going to make a plan to go get some. and then wonder, why? Oh, why? Why don't I ever have love? Why? Who is doing this to me? Why is everybody doing this to me? I would be happy if everybody wasn't doing this to me. That's my plan. All right. And in my crazy plan, God is seen as outside of me, fierce and powerful, eager to keep all power for God himself. which would have to mean that only by God's death can God be conquered by us. Okay, that's how crazy we are. Yeah, you thought you knew how crazy you are? Actually, this is how crazy you really are. You're trying to kick God off of God's throne and be God, and think that suffering is a good idea. So that suffering is going to get you something that you want. But we all learned, every single one of us, no matter what religion we came up through, we all learned that love demands suffering as the price. We all learned that God demands suffering for the price of God's love and acceptance. We all learned that, even if we were brought up an atheist. We all learned that because that's the ego's religion. And we may have different religions, in the world, but we all are sufferers in the ego's religion, which is to have love, you're going to have to suffer. To have something of value, you're going to have to pay. And pay with your peace. That's the ego's religion. And sometimes the ego's religion shows up as this religion or that religion or that religion, but really the ego's religion is one. Okay? It just has a lot of different faces and names. And all of them say, love is cruel, and you gotta pay for love. You gotta suffer for love. You gotta pay with your peace. All right. Let's take a breath on that one. Such a cheery topic to hear about how profoundly insane we are. I came to the spiritual class because I wanted to, feel better about myself, and I realized how incredibly insane I was. Thanks, Course in Miracles.
And addicted to it.
And addicted to it, yeah, not just insane, but addicted to my insanity, Yeah, I learned that I'm trying to kill God. I feel so much better about myself. Okay.
And I think that death of God can also be, what you were saying, my plan.
Yes.
My interpretation. I'm trying to get to sit in the seat of God's interpretation.
Yes, right. Exactly. My plan is to suffer to get peace and love. That's my plan,
Well, my plan and my interpretation is creating my suffering. That's where my
Exactly
suffering
right.
is coming from, because I'm seeing things wrong.
Exactly. My plan and my interpretation are one, absolutely. Okay, great. So given all this madness, it asks a question, and what in this insane belief system, conviction, does healing stand for? If I believe that I am God, then and sickness is the price I gotta pay for that, then what does healing stand for in my insanity? Well, in my insane belief system now, healing symbolizes my own defeat and the triumph of my Creator over me. Okay? If weakness is strength in my belief system, if sickness is strength in my belief system, then in my belief system, if I'm healthy, I'm gonna be weak. I have learned that sickness is strength because sickness and suffering gets me something. And so now I believe that if I'm happy and healthy, I'm really gonna be defeated. I'm gonna not have love. I'm not gonna have relationship. A practical understanding of that is like in a relationship where you have been unhappy. In our relationships, we're using our unhappiness to get what we want. We're using guilt and attack, and we're using our own suffering. Look at what you're doing to me. We're using our own suffering to get what we want. Now, if I've been using my own suffering to get what I want in my relationships, well, if I was to be totally happy and healthy and wealthy, then how am I going to get my people I'm in a relationship with to do what I want them to do? If I'm totally happy and healthy, who am I going to get to make feel guilty enough to do what I want them to do? No, they're going to be like, I'm not going to sacrifice for you. You got it all. You're totally happy. You obviously don't need me to change for you to be happy. So in my old belief system where suffering was strength, aka the illusion of control, now in my insane belief system, if I'm to be healthy and happy, I actually lose. I'm defeated. I have no more power to control over others.
So we suffer because we feel guilty.
Yes, but also the Course in Miracles says you would not consent to suffer unless it served to make somebody else feel guilty.
Right, so we're projecting if we're doing that.
Yes, exactly.
But maybe we suffer because then we think in the eyes of God, He'll take pity on us and won't strike us dead because we're afraid to look inside.
Yes, and we're doing the same thing in our relationships. You know, if I just show you how much I'm suffering, then you'll have pity on me and you'll change.
Or you'll stay.
Or you'll stay. Or you'll do what I want you to do. So, so hear that. A Course in Miracles literally says we would not consent to suffer unless it served to make somebody else feel guilty. It's like, whoa, no. I know my suffering is a total accident. I didn't choose this suffering. Well, yeah, of course said it, I didn't.
So the whole game is about just trading guilt around.
That's exactly right. The Course in Miracles says no, that's what a special relationship is. It's a bargaining game with guilt, where you're bargaining with guilt. Today I'm guilty and you're innocent, but tomorrow you better believe it's going to be you. It's going to be guilty and I'm going to be the innocent one. And we go back and forth. And then the Course says, but no matter which way the game of guilt is played, everybody loses. Loss is the outcome. It don't matter how the game of guilt is played. But that's what a special ego relationship is. That's all we're doing. You know, we don't have the goal of releasing each other from guilt and releasing ourselves from the demand of suffering in the name of love. You know, that's what a holy relationship is, where we're releasing ourselves and each other from the demand of suffering in the name of love. It's like we're learning to say to each other, you don't need to suffer, sweetie, just so that I feel your love. You don't need to suffer and sacrifice just to prove that you love me anymore.
So we can't release other people from guilt because we think by projecting it, we're getting rid of it. But we're just reinforcing the guilt, which makes us even guiltier, which then makes us project even more. I mean,
the course does say that the goal in the holy relationship is to release each other from guilt. You know, true that the other person has to decide they want to accept the truth about themselves, that they're not guilty. But the holy relationship goal is, remember you're not guilty, remember you're innocent, remember you don't need to suffer or sacrifice for love, remember that you're innocent no matter what you do, you know, you don't need to suffer and sacrifice for love, you know, for security, remember. So, but of course they have to accept that for themselves.
That's
But
a holy relationship.
that's a holy
Yeah.
relationship.
I'm
That's
just talking day-to-day stuff. Like,
yeah. I'm not talking. I'm
who
not
would
talking.
choose suffering unless he thought it brought him something?
Yes.
Well, we do think it brings us
Exactly.
something.
That's
Because
exactly right.
We just keep hurling our guilt.
And
thinking,
and we hurl our guilt, which is the same as saying we hurl our suffering. To say I'm going to give somebody guilt, but we're more cunning. As we age, we get more cunning with our guilt. We don't just say you're a guilty, no good dog. We don't say that. We go, I'm suffering. Look what your behavior did to me. You know, I was feeling good about myself until you said that, this dress made me look fat, we don't just outright say you're guilty. You're a sinner. We say, Course in Miracles says suffering is implied guilt. And he says that, and like he said, we would not consent to suffer unless it served to make somebody else feel guilty, even if it's God. Like he was saying, that, whether it's somebody else or it's like, look how much I'm suffering, God, so have mercy on me, God. We're doing it either to God or to others. But the suffering is not an accident. Guilt is not an accident. It is something that we conceived of in our madness for kicking God off the throne of author of reality and deciding how it should go ourselves, even though we're completely batshit crazy out of our minds, have no idea what the truth is. But I'm God. That's how crazy we are. That's why, so it's so classic, somebody when they're mentally ill, so very often they'll say, I'm God. Well, actually, that person in their psychotic moment of saying, I'm God, I'm Jesus, that's exactly like what we're doing now when we say we're sane.
They said the quiet part out loud.
Exactly. They said the quiet part out loud. I'm God. No, you're crazy. I'm God. It's like they said the crazy thing out loud. We don't say it out loud. We just walk around judging, assuming that we're accurate in our judgment, So, all right. So it goes, and so if you have that belief system like we all do, then what does healing stand for in our insane belief system? Well, healing is your defeat and the triumph of God over you. In our madness, healing represents the ultimate defiance in a direct form, which we are forced to recognize. Health, in our insane state of mind, stands for all that we would hide from ourselves to protect our so-called life. How is that? It's like this. Everything we just said in that paragraph, what that means is, I believe that if I am healed, I am responsible for my thoughts. That's what all that just meant. And if I am responsible for my thoughts, I would rather be killed to prove to myself how weak and pitiful I really am. Okie dokie. You see how deep our madness is, okay? If my suffering is me trying to be God, then my health and my happiness is really my defeat, okay? My death. And I would rather die. I would rather be killed by my suffering than acknowledge that I am responsible for my thoughts. I would rather die from my suffering than recognize and realize that I chose this suffering to get something. Wow. Dang. That's really deep. Okay? And that's why we really resist that concept. I am responsible for how I feel. I am choosing the feelings I am experiencing. and everything I'm experiencing, I asked for, and just, you know, and received as I have asked. He says, if you say that and you believe that, you are free. So every single effect of your wrong decision to suffer, to get something, will be undone when you say, I am responsible for what I believe, what I see, what I experience. I am responsible. You know, but in our madness, we would rather die as a victim. I would rather die as a victim to prove that I am a victim. I'd rather die to prove that I'm a victim. Isn't that deep?
Which is a
How
form
many
of-
lifetimes have I died just to prove that I was right about being a victim? Dang.
Which in itself is a form of specialness.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's the ultimate specialness.
Yes.
You know, suffering is the ultimate specialness. And I'll tell you that the Course says, because when you're suffering, you can't help but feel alone. You can't help but feel alone, because when you're suffering, you know that you are the only one who's feeling the pain like you're feeling it. So it immediately makes you feel separate and alone. And that's the purpose. Because when you're suffering, you know nobody's feeling that pain exactly like you're feeling it. And as much as they empathize and bring you tea and be nice to you, oh, I had that problem. As much as they empathize with you, you know they are not feeling that pain like you're feeling it in the moment. Which makes you feel like we're definitely separate.
Yeah.
You know, and so this is saying that in our madness, we would rather die from the suffering than acknowledge, I chose this, I decided for this, I wanted this to serve a purpose. Heavy duty, huh? Heavy duty. Now, the thing that is so wonderful to remember, that helpful to remember, is that I don't even have to believe it to say it. I don't have to believe it to say I am responsible for what I'm experiencing. I have chosen every feeling that I'm experiencing, and everything that's happening right now I asked for, and I received exactly as I've asked. I don't have to believe it to say it, but when I say it, I'm getting the power from it, because it's true. So I think that was the first quote from the Course, or the first prayer formula that I ever memorized. I am responsible for my experience. I am choosing the feelings I'm experiencing, and everything that seems to happen to me. Yes, I have asked for and received as I have asked. And then it goes on to say, and all you need to do is say, and I was mistaken. And then all the effects of that mistaken decision are undone for you. For you. F-O-R, capital letters, for you. I remember reading that going, all I have to do is take full responsibility for what I'm experiencing, and then all the effects, and then say I was mistaken. I was mistaken in thinking that suffering would get me something that I wanted, and then all the effects of this will be undone for me? Okay. All right. What could I lose by trying?
It's a simple solution.
It's a very simple solution. All you do is say something. Don't even have to fully believe it. But the more sincerity you say it with, the faster the effects are undone for you. Wow. Okay. And in our madness, but if we choose death ourselves, now our weakness is our strength, because now we've given ourselves what God would give to us, punishment, and thus entirely usurp the throne of our Creator. Okay, so it's like, in all of our religions, it's like, okay, God punishes. Everybody knows that. That's what we all learned about God. No matter what religion we came up in, you know, God punishes. And so I know I got a great idea. I will punish myself first, and then I would have taken unto myself what God was going to give me. Isn't that a great plan? Isn't that a great plan? Aren't I a genius?
But I got to do it my way.
Yeah, exactly. Aren't I a genius? Yeah, a suffering genius. I'm a genius of suffering. I mean, I wrote the book. All right. So just remember, you know, this suffering is me trying to be God. This is me trying to be God. Okay. All right. Everybody take a breath. Hi, Jerry.
Hi.
All right. Oh, hi, Jerry. Okay. And hi, Bonnie. If you're still watching it, lovely to see you, sweetie. Okay. Here we go. The shift in perception. Dun, dun, dun. Are you ready for the shift? Healing must occur in exact proportion to which the valuelessness of sickness is recognized. So, one need only say, there is no gain at all to me in this suffering, and they are healed.
There's your miracle.
There's your miracle. There's your miracle. In that moment where you say, I'm suffering for nothing. I am suffering for nothing. It's not getting me peace. It's not getting me love. It's not getting me security. It's not getting me into the pearly gates of heaven. You know, I'm suffering for, it's not making me rich. I am suffering for nothing. I was suffering thinking that somebody would have mercy on me and have pity on me and be loving to me, and the opposite is happening. There is no gain at all to me in this. I do not need to suffer to have peace, love, joy, abundance, and you are released from your suffering. You are healed. Okay, pretty simple, eh? Couldn't get any more simple than that, eh? Not complicated at all. Okay, you could do that in an instant. That doesn't take years. That doesn't take going to a priest or a rabbi and asking for absolution. That's something you say it in an instant. And it doesn't cost anything. But, to say this, there is no gain at all to me in this suffering, a person must first recognize certain facts. So to say, this suffering isn't benefiting me at all, you gotta recognize certain facts. First fact, it's obvious that decisions are of the mind, not of the body. Okay, that's the first fact you gotta recognize. I made the decision from my mind. My body didn't make the decision to suffer. My body didn't make the decision to suffer. My partner didn't make the decision to make me suffer. My body didn't make me suffer. If suffering is a decision, it came from my mind. That's the first thing that you got to recognize to be able to say, there is no gain at all to me in this suffering or this problem. If sickness is but a faulty problem-solving approach, then sickness is a decision. And if sickness is a decision, then it is the mind and not the body that makes this decision. Now, the resistance to recognizing this is enormous. Okay, does enormous mean big? How big is enormous? Okay, it's big. It's really big. Our resistance to recognizing this is enormous. Why? Because the existence of the world as we see it depends on the body being the decision maker for my suffering. Wow. Okay, that's really heavy. The existence of the whole world as I see it depends on the belief that the body makes me suffer. the body made me suffer, or the body of another made me suffer. You know what they did with their body? That's why I'm suffering. Their body made me suffer. Okay? Wow. So we have enormous resistance because to accept the fact that this suffering is a decision of my mind means that I will never ever experience the world the same again. In other words, I'm afraid I'm going to lose the whole world as I know it. And he goes, and that is very true. Except that the new world, the real world, is a world where you will not be suffering at the mercy. The world will not appear to rule your mind anymore. How'd you like to be in a world like that? How'd you like to experience the world like that?
Yes.
I experienced the world where this world doesn't appear to rule my mind at all. How my experience has nothing to do with, what the world, what's happening in the world. I have a good day every day. Like Greg and I were at a place the other day, and we met a stranger, and we go, "How you doing?" He goes, "Always good." I was like, I like that. He goes, "Always good." Usually you hear people go, "Can't complain." He went, "Always good." How would you like to experience the world like that, where it's always good? Because the world doesn't appear to rule your mind at all. Now, it says terms like instincts or reflexes and the like, these terms represent attempts to endow the body with non-mental motivators. Actually, the terms instinct and reflexes merely state or describe the problem. You think it's just automatically happening to you. The term instinct or reflexes do not answer the problem. You can't just go, "Well, my body made me do it." It's an instinct. It's a reflex. Every time you have an attack thought, "Well, it's an instinct. Sorry, it's a reflex." We have attack, instinct, and reflexes. It's so automatic, right? And so our judgments and our attack thoughts are so seemingly automatic that we call them instincts and reflexes. But they ain't reflexes or instincts at all. They are a decision that our mind made, to suffer in order to get something that we wanted. But because of the rapidity of the decision, we forgot we made it. Because of how fast we made that decision to suffer to get something, we don't remember or realize we made it because of how fast we did it. Now it seems like an instinct. Now it seems like a reflex. No, it's just that's how fast we made that decision. Wow. Okay, so instincts and reflexes represent attempts to endow the body with non-mental motivators. Okay, that just said the body has no non-mental motivators. That is so hard to believe. That is so hard to believe.
Okay.
There's nothing that happens relative to my body that didn't come from a mental motivator, a decision. Cue the gong. I hear the gates of heaven opening. They're rusty. For you. Okay. So that is very difficult to believe that whatever is happening relative to my body is motivated mentally, even if I don't remember making that decision. And I don't have to remember. I don't have to go back. I don't have to go through deep hypnosis to go, "Oh, I remember when I thought I would punish myself and that would get me more love." Yeah. You don't have to go back to that point. All you have to do is say, "I must have decided wrongly because I'm not at peace. That's all you got to say. Hallelujah. I must have decided wrongly. I must have decided to suffer, thinking that was going to get me something that I wanted, because I'm not at peace. Okay? Beautiful. And so, all right, that was the end of that paragraph. Now, then it says, so now we get to the answer. Okay, all that we just read was the problem. Now the Course in Miracles takes us into the answer. Everybody ready for the answer?
Yeah.
Okay. The acceptance of your suffering as a decision of your mind for a purpose for which your mind would use your body is the basis of your healing. And this is so for healing in all forms, whatever way you're suffering. In other words, you, the patient, decide that this is so and you recover. If you decide against your recovery, you won't be healed. Who is the physician relative to you and your suffering? Only your mind, only the mind of you, the patient yourself. That means the outcome is what you decide that the outcome is. Period. Let's take a breath on that one. I'm so glad I don't have to believe the truth for it to work. Now, it says, special agents like medicine or different treatment plans, special agents seem to be ministering to you, yet these special agents only give form to your own choice. Whatever you're using for your suffering, like medicine or techniques or whatever you're using as your medicine, you're choosing your medicines in order to bring tangible form to your desires. And that's all your medicines do. And nothing else. That's all our medicines do. They what? They bring tangible form to our desires. Our medicines, or our special agents, they are not actually needed at all. What do you mean? Well, you, the patient, you, the sufferer, could merely rise up without your medicine's aid and say, I have no use for this medicine, period. I have no use for this medicine. And then there is no form of sickness that would not be cured at once. All right. Everybody know what we're talking about in terms of special agents? These are the things that we take for our suffering, you know. And all the many things, you know, the pills, the
Vaccinations.
The vaccinations, exactly. You know, all those things. We have an entire industry called the pharmaceutical industry of special agents. I'm gonna start calling it the special agents industry, SPI.
It could also be the other evidences that we're gathering to add to our story that we're making up.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And also they could be, you know, all the things that we use to treat our suffering. Well, like, I drink to handle the pain, you know, or I do relationships to handle, you know, my low self-esteem, you know. Those are special agents. Those are medicines. Those are things that I'm using to cover my pain, or to numb my pain, or to dull my suffering. Okay, but all the medicines that we use, he calls their special agents, that we're just using to bring tangible form to our desire. And if we decided if we've decided that we don't want to suffer anymore, if we've decided there's no gain to me at all anymore in this suffering, and he says, then whatever medicines you're using will work. If you haven't decided that there's no more gain at all to you in this suffering, it's not going to get you what you want, then if you've decided, if you haven't made that decision, then your medicines won't work. Same medicine, different people, different results of the medicine. Same medicine, why are the different results? Why different results? Same medicine for people suffering with the same thing, but in this person, the cancer treatment worked, and this one they didn't. You know, why does the treatment work? Same treatment work differently for different people. Why is that? Is it, you know, this explains why. Okay, you know, if the sickness and the suffering is still serving a purpose for me, I'm still getting something. I still think I'm going to get something from it of greater value. Then the medicine ain't going to work for me. Okay.
But this also reminded me of there's a statement in the section before in development of trust about how things leaving our life, undoing, and how I'm not ready to make the shift entirely myself,
yes,
to believe that I no longer
Very
value
good.
this sickness, this suffering that I'm going through. I'm not
Yes.
quite ready to do it or accept that my
Exactly.
mind is really making the decision.
Right.
And so the special agents can be useful
Yes.
in the sense of them being my my crutch, if you will,
Yes.
or my bridge to. I'm willing to give up the idea that I don't value this suffering, but I
Yes.
don't fully believe that my body's not responsible for it.
Exactly, and thank you for bringing that up. And I think it goes on to talk about that in here. Maybe it's someplace else, but it says that until we're entirely ready to make the shift internally to the recognition that whatever's going on in my suffering is coming from my mind, not my body, he says, until then, we're supposed to take a compromise approach. And now the special agents, the medicines, are part of the compromise approach. So I'm willing and I'm working toward deciding that the suffering is not going to get me what I want, and it has no more use to me. And I'm working on realizing and deciding that what's happening has nothing to do with my body but my mind. And but I'm not there yet completely. So I take the medicine. You know, and now there's a better chance that the medicine's going to work because of what I'm doing with my mind. So that's what I always do. You know, I obviously haven't made that decision yet myself, and so, you know, I use a lot of, you know, compromise approach special agents, but because I'm always working toward what's happening in my body is coming from my mind, then they tend to work. They work for me. So, beautiful. Thank you for that. Okay, any other questions or comments? Yeah, exactly. No, most of us aren't. Most of us aren't. The Course in Miracles talks about that for a lot of people, if we were healed instantaneously, it would freak us out so
Probably die.
intensely
Yeah.
that we would, you know,
Freak out.
Yeah, we would just freak out. And so he says, in that case, healing must wait. You know. So he says, and then paragraph 3. We're amazing. Usually by this point I'm like, this is like 5 minutes till time to close. We've covered a lot. I'm amazed. So the next paragraph says, what is the single requisite for this shift in perception? The single requisite for the shift in perception is simply this: The recognition that sickness is of the mind, which means has nothing to do with the body. Okay, great. Now, what does this recognition cost? Well, not much. It just costs the whole world you see. Why? Because the world will never again appear to rule your mind. In other words, you'll be in the world, but you won't ever feel like a victim again. You won't feel powerless anymore. You won't feel helpless anymore. Now, that sounds amazing. That's the only cost of this shift in perception. That's the only cost. Because with this recognition that sickness is of the mind, has nothing to do with the body, is responsibility placed where responsibility belongs. Not with the world, but on them who look on the world and see the world as it is not. Okay. And how is it we're looking on the world and seeing the world as it's not? We're seeing the world as the cause and us as the victim. The world is the cause and we are its effect. That's how we're seeing the world. You know, we've been seeing the world amiss. It says, we look on what we choose to see. No more, no less. In other words, the world does nothing to us. We only thought it did. And nor do we do anything to the world. Why is that? Because we were mistaken about what the world is. Herein is the release from guilt and sickness both, because guilt and sickness are one. But to accept this release from guilt and sickness, the insignificance of the body must be an acceptable idea. Wow. Okay. I love that. Not only does the world do nothing to us, but we don't do anything to the world because we were mistaken about what it is. So in other words, I haven't hurt anyone in the world. I haven't hurt anyone. I haven't hurt, you know, and it's like, and he says, this is your release from guilt. You know, contrary to the belief of most of our exes, we haven't done anything to anyone. We haven't hurt the world. We haven't hurt others. We didn't do anything to them. You know, even though, of course, they swear that we did. You know. But we also think that we've hurt the world. And that's why we feel guilty. You know, even though we protested our innocence. I'm innocent. I didn't mean to hurt you. You know, I didn't mean to hurt you. I'm innocent. Even though we protest our innocence, we don't really, we still feel guilty. They're blaming us for their lack of happiness. And even though we're like, no, I'm innocent, we actually still feel guilty. So he's saying that not only does the world not do anything to us, but we have not done anything to the world.
That's a relief.
Yeah, I was just gonna say good.
Isn't that the biggest relief ever? And he says, and herein is your release from guilt and sickness both. Like all that guilt that we carry about how we've hurt the people in our past. I was just, on a 6-day family vacation, with my family of origin. Woo, baby. Talk about temptation to feel guilty about how you've hurt people. It's like, because they're sitting there telling you what you're doing wrong and how it is hurting them. You know, and they they have no problem telling you how your choices in life have hurt them, you know, at all. You know, and then them telling, you know, me how I'm hurting other people in my life, you know. So the shift in perception is that it is my mind, that sickness is coming from my mind and has nothing to do with my body. And also the recognition that the world, that I have done nothing to the world. And why is it that I've done nothing to the world? Because I don't even know what it is. You know, you gotta like know what it is to be able to hurt it. I've never even seen anybody. How could I hurt people? I've never even seen them. I've never even seen who they really are. How could I have hurt them? You know, it's like, you don't even know me. How could you hurt me? You don't even know me. Okay? How could what you say to me, if I know you don't know me and you say I'm an idiot, I'll be like, you don't even know me. You can't hurt me. So, you know, it's reminding, so he said, herein is the release from guilt and sickness both, because guilt and sickness are one. Wow. And I said, yet to accept this release, the insignificance of the body must be an acceptable idea. Because it does appear that one body can accept another body. I mean, can hurt another body. It does appear that one body can hurt another body. And so, in order to accept the idea that I have never hurt anybody, I haven't done anything to the world, and it hasn't done anything to me, I have to accept. It just has to be an acceptable idea that I'm not my body and they're not their body, and whatever bodies do doesn't matter. Whatever bodies do is insignificant. You know, so whatever your body did to my body, that's insignificant. Whatever my body did to your body, that's insignificant. And it didn't say I have to believe it completely. It just said it just has to be an acceptable idea. Is that an acceptable idea? Sure. Great. That's acceptable.
It's also a more specific application of the idea that I am the dreamer, not in the dream having the dream happen to me.
Yes, exactly.
I am the dreamer. That's right. This is my own nightmare.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly. It's the same as saying that my suffering is completely of my mind and has nothing to do with my body. You know, it's my dream. It's my dream.
It goes back to what you started with, that we are responsible for what we
Yes.
see and what we think and what we perceive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It completely goes back to that, you know. And it's such a big release from guilt, you know. And you know, all of us people trying to be nice people, you know, we're all trying to be nice people, good people. We carry so much guilt. We probably carry more guilt about what we think we've done to hurt others than we carry anger about what we think they may have done to us. You know, what we call nice people, good codependent people, good victim people. I'm a good victim, see? You know, we tend to carry more guilt about what we think how we've hurt others than we tend to carry anger about what they've done to us. You know. So it's a wonderful way to release ourselves from guilt and sickness, because guilt and sickness are one. Woo! You suffering? What am I feeling guilty about? What am I feeling guilty about? What am I feeling guilty about? Okay. All right, let's take a breath on that one. Now, I love it. With this idea, all that we're talking about right here, with this idea is pain forever gone, not just for a few minutes gone. with this idea that we've been talking about, is pain forever gone? That's what I want, some forever gone pain, you know. But with this idea that we've been talking about goes also all confusion about creation. Does this not follow of necessity? In other words, if you place cause and effect in their true sequence in one respect or one situation, and then the learning will generalize and transform the world. What? You mean if I can apply this in one situation or one relationship, then that learning will transform my whole world? Wow. How does that happen? That happens because the transfer value of one true idea has no end or limit. Dang. So if I can accept the truth in one situation, I am not a victim of the world I see. And the suffering I'm experiencing has nothing to do with my body and only my mind. That one true idea, the transfer value of it has no end or limit. One true idea, one time. Whole world changed. Wow, that's powerful. And so that's why the final outcome of this lesson is the remembrance of God. What do guilt and sickness, pain, disaster, and all suffering mean now? Well, having no purpose, pain, sickness, and suffering are gone. And with the pain, the sickness, the suffering, and the disaster also go all the effects that the disaster, pain, sickness, and suffering seemed to cause. And that's because cause and effect but replicate creation. In other words, seen in their proper perspective, which means without distortion and without fear, cause and effect re-establish heaven. Wow. So that's really powerful. So once you really see what's really cause and what's really effect, and you get them in their proper perspective, which means without distortion, without fear, here comes heaven. And you realize it was there all along. I love it. Seen, cause and effect, seen in proper perspective, which means without distortion, without fear, re-establish heaven. So in the situation where I'm suffering, which means when I'm in hell, suffering is hell, pain is hell, I'm in hell, and if I will just see cause and effect truly in this situation, what's the real cause, what's the real effect, then I escape the hell of my pain and disaster and suffering, and I then experience heaven. No pain. Total completion. Why? Just because I put cause and effect in their proper perspective, their right order. I said to myself, even though I don't believe it fully, this suffering is a decision of my mind for a purpose for which I would use it to get something of greater value. That's what's happening. And it was a mistake of my mind. That's it. And then that cause and effect relationship, seen in its proper perspective, now I just want to say the disaster, the guilt, the sickness, and the pain, and all suffering end. And all the effects they seem to cause end, gone, and heaven in its place. It's hard to believe, isn't it? But one time you try it, and then you see that your world changes the next moment. And you go, dang, it is true. It really is true. Wow. Okay. Questions or comments on that little topic? All right. Is there anybody who's listening going, yes, but I mean, I could see how that might be true for this little problem over here, but not for a whole world that seems to be going to war. Yes, that's me. That's me. Right.
Well, I just think it's so vast that if we look at it through the body's eyes, it just looks unrepairable.
Yes, you're right. Good
But
point.
you go on and know that that's not what reality is about.
Exactly. Thank you for saying that. That it's the illusion of the world that seems to be affecting us, telling us what's happening, is so vast that it's hard to believe. It seems impossible that it could be true that our decision changes the world, such that the world doesn't seem to dictate to us what's going on, how we have to feel. And like it said, in order to accept what we're saying about the power of our decision, you have to accept the insignificance of the body. So you have to accept that we're not these bodies, and these bodies are not, reality.
It's fine to have conversations with the news person every now and then, and telling them the truth as they're saying all this. But it is kind of a way of teaching yourself and fortifying what you believe.
Yes. Yes.
In an odd kind of way, maybe. But.
Exactly. Like the speaking of the news, what I heard was when watching the news or when seeing something in the world and going, the feeling at the effect of the world, the Course in Miracles tells us to say, I am not the victim of the world I see. I am not the victim of the world I see. No. And a million other things it says to say, but here's the ideas. The workbook is what takes these ideas and then tells you, okay, now today when you get mad or scared about something going on in the world, and then it says, now I want you to think about all the disasters and the suffering in the world, and I want you to be specific. Don't just say suffering, say that plane crash or that world war, It says, say all power is of God, and what is not of God or mind has no power to do anything. So it gives you the way to apply these ideas in a practical day-to-day way. Your day, whatever's going on.
So I just wanted to comment that the beginning of this last paragraph we read begins with this idea is pain gone forever.
Yeah.
Had I been an editor for this text, I would have probably changed that to be with full acceptance of this idea is pain gone
Thank
forever.
you, very good.
Because going back to early in this section, healing must occur in exact proportion to which the valuelessness of sickness is recognized.
Yeah.
And so, taking it from the seemingly overwhelming problems of the whole world to just a personal level relationship with another person that can be seemingly very nuanced and complex in the codependency and the guilt projections back and forth. I'll just speak from firsthand experience that I can feel some relief of pain in a moment because in this moment I have accepted the idea that I created this part of it, that I'm responsible for that part of it. The pain may come back because there may be layers upon layers upon layers of guilt and other illusions that I have convince myself
Yes,
of.
vestiges of the old belief system still linger, you know, and understandably, no telling how long we have been believing this belief system of the body and the world is the cause and we're the effect, you know. No telling how long we've been believing that. So it can take a while. Yes, thank you for saying that. That's perfect. Yeah. Beautiful. Hi, Peter. Hi, Norma. Do you guys have any questions or comments on this section so far? Anything else? How do you feel having heard these ideas? What do you feel right now?
Haven't got time for the pain.
Haven't got time for the pain. Very good.
This was a more intense section than I remember in late June. Either that or I'm just more open to the ideas tonight.
Yeah, well, it's like we were saying at the beginning. Every time, and we did this 6 weeks ago in this class, every time you hear it, you're hearing it at a deeper level. And, you know, and so literally it's like they say you can't step into the same river twice. I feel that way about the Course. You can't read the same section twice, you know. It's because it'll never be this. It's never the same, because you're either more aware and more open, or you're more resistant. No, each time. Beautiful. All right. Well, then let's.
Can I
Yes,
ask one
yes, of
question?
course.
So, if the world is a holographic, just
Projection.
cosmic joke,
Projection.
projection, that means that so are we.
Well,
And just if I
yeah,
just
go ahead,
finish it out.
We as a body.
Yes, we as a body, we're not here, so therefore we want the world to be real because we want our specialness. And so that's why we resist this idea, and we so badly want guilt to be real.
Yes, absolutely. We so badly want guilt to be real because we so deeply learned that suffering that we get through guilt gets us something that we want. We all learned that guilt gets us something of value, something we want, and we learned it for eons and lifetimes. If you believe in reincarnation, and so, you know, it takes a little while to unlearn. Like the Course in Miracles says, the separation happened over millions of years. And it literally says that, it's a quote. It says, and so the undoing of the separation will take a little while. You know, and it says, but don't forget that every teacher of love saves the world 1,000 years as the world judges time. So, you know, it's like we talked about before, be patient with yourself. Be patient with yourself. Don't be judgmental if it seems like it's taken a while for you to accept this and use it, okay? And be released from the suffering. It takes a while, but every one of us is not only saving ourselves thousands of years of time, but also the world, to the point where the world goes, oh, only the mind is deciding what's happening here. Okay.
It's like that 80-gram song, it takes a little time to get down what you need.
Exactly. And don't forget, the Course in Miracles also says, infinite patience produces immediate effects. Infinite patience produces immediate effects. So the more patient you are with yourself, the more forgiving and patient and tolerant you are with yourself and others, then the faster your peace and joy comes to you. Okay. All right. Beautiful. Great, great, great. Okay, so I'm just going to do announcements, and then we'll just do a couple of minutes of an integration meditation. And so announcements are this. Greg and I do 2 Transforming Relationships classes a week on Facebook we're gonna start doing them here at the Miracle Center also. So if you would like to come to the Miracle Center for our Transforming Relationships Through A Course in Miracles class, you can now come to the Miracle Center and come in person if you're in the Denver area. So how exciting is that? I'm not sure exactly when we'll start, probably next Sunday.
And we're talking about putting together on Sundays how it fits with the schedule here, doing a class,
Yes,
and then after the class, an ecstatic dance.
exactly.
We would like to start building an ecstatic dance here. But,
Right on.
yeah, like
I'm ecstatic about that idea.
Yeah.
like a 5 o'clock class on some. This is just talking out loud stuff.
Yes.
5 o'clock Sunday, and then maybe 7 o'clock to 8:30 dance with the live DJ.
Yes, beautiful. And Greg was reminding us that Greg and I are got something in the works where we're going to probably do another Course in Miracles class every Sunday at late afternoon, and then an ecstatic dance right after the class. So that you can not only have these ecstatic ideas, but then you can go integrate them, ecstatically by dancing, ecstatic dance. It's a free form dance.
Or you can come to one or the other.
Yes.
You don't have to come to both.
Exactly, you can come to one or the other. And so that the Transforming Relationships Through A Course in Miracles is Sundays and Tuesdays at 7 p.m. So, and if you want more information, then when I transfer this class to the YouTube, I'll have that schedule in there as well. And I think the schedule also is in this the writings of this. Also, I am a holistic psychotherapist, and I have a psychotherapeutic practice called Miracle Psychotherapeutics. And if you are somebody who would like some support through something you're going through, but you would like it through a Course in Miracles perspective, then I could be helpful to you in that. The way to reach me to schedule that is to either message me on Messenger or go to my website and find my phone number on my website, annakujawa.com, and then find my phone number and text me. That's always the best way to reach me, is to text me. Text. All right, so that's it for now. And so just for a couple minutes, we're going to breathe and let ourselves feel these ideas. Whew. It's all good to talk about them, and we want to feel them, and we want to use them so that we can experience the miracles that come from the use of these ideas. So just take a moment, close your eyes, and just let it go. Just become present, aware of your breath. Let your mind be restful and open. Just noticing how it feels within you to hear these ideas, and to hear these ideas with other mighty companions who also want peace. Beautiful. Now I want you to bring to your awareness a situation or a relationship in which you are experiencing some suffering, some lack of peace, some pain, or a disaster. I want you to bring it to your awareness. And take a breath. Now we are going to tell ourselves the truth about this situation, this suffering that we heard in this section, recognizing that we know we don't believe it completely, and that's okay. Now, looking at this situation or this relationship, the first thing that we heard to tell ourselves about this is that to experience a healing in this situation, we must have an understanding of what this suffering is for. And so I want you to ask yourself, what is the payoff to me in this suffering? And even if I don't believe that I chose this for some purpose, just assume, just say, if there was a payoff to me in this, if I chose this unconsciously, why might I have chosen this, and what am I getting out of this suffering? What's the payoff? What is the reward that I'm hoping to get for this sacrifice of my peace that I'm making, that I'm experiencing? What's the reward that I'm hoping will come out of this suffering that I'm experiencing? Why am I consenting to this suffering? Now I want you to ask yourself, if I was not suffering in this way right now, what do I believe I would lose? Take a breath. And now I want you to just speak the truth over this situation. Speak the truth to your situation and say to yourself, this sickness or this suffering is an election. It's a decision. This suffering is my choice of weakness in the mistaken conviction that being weak and sick is strength. And take a breath. Beautiful. And now I want you to say, this sickness or suffering is of my mind and has nothing to do with my body. Beautiful. And now I want you to say to yourself, with as much sincerity and conviction as you can, there is no gain at all to me in suffering with this. This suffering is not going to get me something that I want. This suffering is not going to accomplish what I secretly hoped it would. I am in no need of suffering anymore. And take a breath. And now I want you to say to yourself with as much conviction and sincerity as you can, I do not need to suffer in order to have love or peace or abundance or security. Tell yourself, I do not need to sacrifice my peace in order to feel loved. And say to yourself, I remain exactly as God created me. I do not need to suffer in order to have the love, the peace, and the security that I was given in my creation. I have it now. I have it forever. I cannot lose it, and I don't have to pay for it in coins of suffering. There is no use at all to me in this suffering. Take a breath. Notice how it feels to speak the truth to this situation. Beautiful. And then when you're ready, just open your eyes, take another breath, yawn and stretch. Whew. Come on back. All right. Thank you guys for coming out here. Thank you for actually bringing your bodies out here to be here in person when you know you could have watched it online. I appreciate that ever so much. I know sometimes at the end of the day, it's a pain in the butt to get ready to go out somewhere, especially at the end of the day. You're like, yeah, I'm already in. I got my pajamas on. You know, I don't want to go out anywhere. So I really, really appreciate you bringing your bodies out here.
Thank
For
you,
real.
Anna.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Anna.
And I really appreciate you guys using your very precious time and energy to join this healing circle and to watch whenever you've watched it. And if you'd like to support this Miracles Ministry, then there's many ways to do this. You could share this on your Facebook page, or you can go to my website, annakajawa.com, and do a PayPal or Venmo. So thank you all. I appreciate you so much. See you next time I see you.